when we're talking about business stuff, it's probably when we have that little tension the most. It's kind of like, because I have my idea of how I want something to be, or my thought of how it should go, and then you have yours, and then we're having to work that dynamic and communicate. I'm trying to communicate to you my point, and vice versa. At some point, somebody has to humble themselves to do exactly what you're talking about. Okay, let me stop trying to make my point and get him to see what I'm saying, and just really listen and do what we always say to do. Ask questions so that we can understand what it is that you're having to say. And that takes me to humble myself and just say, okay, squash what you're trying to say and what you want to do, and just listen.
Everybody, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters. This is a podcast where we talk about marriage matters because
marriage matters.
That's right. So if you're watching for the very first time, my name is Glenn Coleman, and I'm joined as always by this beautiful, intelligent, full of charisma, charismatic, there we go, woman.
Hi guys, I'm Tynia Coleman. Welcome to Marriage Matters.
All right, so how are you doing, Miss Coleman?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty well. Yeah.
So you've been a busy bee these last few days. Our oldest bee, she is literally, she's a bee.
Yeah.
Okay. But she's doing senior pictures, and so how do you feel about that? How do you feel about our oldest getting ready to venture off into the world as a college student? How do you feel?
Let's see. It has been full of emotion. I think I've said that all year.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we started the senior, so this girl is having 2 days of senior pictures. We started the senior pictures yesterday. And so she wanted to take pictures, some of her pictures at her elementary school, which she loved. And so walking into the building, walking into the foyer, I stopped and just kind of took a breath, because I remembered when she was 4 and we walked into the building that February before she turned 5, for her to take the test to attend that school. And she walked in and confidently walked in and looked around, and she said, "Mommy, this is my school." She wasn't like asking, "Is this my school?" She was saying,
sense.
"This is Mommy, this is my school."
Sounds very Bethany. Yeah.
And so had that came back to me yesterday. And so we're walking in, and the secretary and like, "Oh my God, I can't believe how grown up you are. You're so beautiful." And, seeing old teachers, the principal and all of that. And I just held back tears all day long until I got into the tub last night, and I just let all the tears come. Yeah. So it's like, it's happy, excited. I'm super, super proud of her. We have so much to be proud of her for. Yep. And she's only just beginning, but at the same time, it's a lot of emotion and asking those questions. Have we had all of the conversations? What else do we need to teach? What else do we need to remind her about, have conversations about, all of those things. Yeah. And then through this journey, realizing that, the supplement that we used to get for college, as far as grants and, financial aid and stuff, I'm like, dude, they don't give these kids anything anymore.
I didn't get anything either.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I didn't. It's amazing.
Well, I guess it's a 2-parent household. Huh?
Yeah, I think, because, and 2
working parents.
Both of my parents didn't work.
You're right. Yes, you're right.
My mom worked a little bit here and there, but when later in life, after her and my dad, were not together anymore, she worked, but when they were together, she worked a little bit, but it wasn't like,
Yeah. And it's I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying, and they still didn't give me, everything was loans.
Yeah. And so, and that's, having those conversations with her, waiting to see what schools are going to offer, what, and of course, we're going to do what we're, our job in supporting, but also, if you can go to school, go to college without debt, unless it is worth that investment on your part, you know what I mean? Then let's do that. At first these first 4 years, especially these first 4 years, because I know she's already said she's going to go on and get a master's. So, just all that is happening at one time.
Yeah.
And being the personal, what am I? The personal assistant. I'm taking care of the clothes and scheduling the appointments and those types of things. But I don't mind. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it.
I was about to say, you like doing that kind of stuff.
I'm loving it. I'm glad that I get to be up close and personal and front and center in the middle of all this. So
yeah, cool. Well, it's a journey, and I too, have those same thoughts. Maybe I don't express them the way you do, but still, it's scary and exciting and all that all at the same time. So
keep you on your knees.
Yes, amen. Yeah. So shouts out to Bethany Coleman. Proud of you. We love you, and just can't wait to see everything that you're going to do.
Yeah, class of 2023.
Boom, there it is. So so we also wanted to take this time to send a special shout out to one of our viewers, one of our listeners. And it was Leon East. He shared the podcast.
Okay.
And I just want to give a big shout out to Leon and Michael East.
Yes.
I think, were they the first wedding we ever did? It was between Leon and Michael and Dwayne and Venetia. I think it was Leon.
I think it may have been Leon and Michael.
It was Leon and Michael, yeah. It was Leon and Michael. So they were the first wedding that we performed. And we were so honored and so privileged.
Absolutely.
And Michael was such a beautiful bride. I can remember it. And Leon was just a handsome, dapper gentleman. And I can remember that. I remember that wedding. We were in New Orleans, beautiful church. And it was great. But thank you for sharing. I didn't want to go into all of that, but thank you for sharing the podcast. And also, I want to take this time to shout out. They have a business they just started maybe, I don't know, a few months back. It's called...
well, they've been in the business, but they just opened their own store.
I guess it's what you would call a smoothie place.
It is a nutritional tea shop.
Yeah, so it's Victory Nutrition in Baker, Louisiana. It's 15,005, so 15005. Plank Road in Baker, Louisiana. So if you're in the Baton Rouge area, Baker, Plaquemine, all those, I don't know, all those towns there. But go by Victory Nutrition. They're open Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Yes.
And on Fridays, they're open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. So, and also follow them on Facebook.
Absolutely.
You can find them at Victory Nutrition. And I'll tell you what, is it Herbalife?
Yeah, it's Herbalife.
Those Herbalife teas, I'm telling you what. The first time I had one, I didn't believe the hype. So Tynia went and got one for me. And I drank this thing. And I basically went and cleaned our garage out. Because I was just like,
energy.
And it wasn't like a nervousness, like I got to do something energy. It was just like this burst of energy. It was... they were great. So
yeah, and you accidentally said 7 to 7, and I was like, ooh, but you fixed it. It's 7 to 2 because these teas you do not want to drink after 2:00 in the afternoon, or you will be up all night. My first time around, I was up all night. I rearranged the kitchen cabinet.
So they're great. So stop by Victory Nutrition in Baker, Louisiana. And go show Leon and Michael some love there.
Yes, we're so excited for them and just stepping out on faith and doing this thing. So awesome.
Yeah, so thanks again for sharing.
My hair is lopsided. I'm telling everybody, but that's why I keep looking.
Are you good?
Okay, there we go.
You good? I don't know. It looks good to me.
Thank you.
No? Yeah, it looks good. Yeah.
It does a thing sometimes.
My beard always looked lopsided to me, so... No, it's this side that looks. Anyway, if you're listening, we're looking at ourselves in the monitor. Anyway, we should have done that before we started Hey, we keep it
It's
real.
all good.
Keep
We
it at 100.
Keep it at 100.
So yeah,
We here
today
now.
I want to talk about something. So you know, there's been a lot of talk about communication, and it almost I get mostly I would say 90% of the time, maybe even higher than 90% of the time, when we talk to a couple, when we're coaching with couples, and we ask them, you know, what do you want to work on? Most of the time they say communication.
That's the first thing they say.
Communication. And I often wonder if they actually want to work on communication or they just heard that, you know, communication is key, which it is. It is key. So go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that they really do think that that's what they want to work on because they're not having conversations, they're not talking, or the way that they speak to each other is unhealthy. And so on the forefront, it looks like we need to work on communication. And that's easier to say than some of the other things that come out of those coaching sessions.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So, but one of the things I want to bring out is that a lot of times, and I think it's almost a travesty, is maybe the word I want to use, a travesty, that just because, I'll say it this way. I know a lot of communicators, people who communicate even for a living. When it comes to their relationships are not great communicators. So just because you're a great communicator or a great speaker, you know, whether that's in a corporate setting, whether that's on stage, whether that's whatever it is, doesn't make you a great communicator at home or in a relationship. Yeah. And I myself, I've experienced this before, how, you know, getting up on stage and delivering a message, you know, people would tell me all the time, man, I get so much out of hearing you speak and all of these things. But I may not have been doing such a great job communicating with you or communicating with the girls. So I just want to kind of talk about that and how communicating with an audience is so much different than communicating with a person. And I think what the difference is connecting. Because, well, I'll ask you, do you think communication and connecting are the same? Do you think that it can exist one without the other? And like, what comes first? Do you think connection comes first? Or you think being a good communication comes first? So I would love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on that.
Sure. So I do not think that communication and connection are the same.
Okay.
I feel like communication has to happen before we can have connection.
Okay.
And because connection is made through communication.
Okay.
But just talking is not always communication. Like, you can be speaking words and not really be communicating, if that makes sense.
Tell me more.
So, and let's say, so we'll use the example of when you teach or you present, you know, a message. You are communicating to an audience of people from a specific topic, point of view, perspective, what have you, right? And so you are communicating and you are delivering to them the message that you feel God has given you, or whatever, you know, the dynamic is. You're communicating this specific thing, right?
Okay.
In relational spaces, whether that be husband and wife, parent to child and parent, you know, friends or what have you, sometimes we can just talk about anything, nothing. You know what I mean? The sun is out. Oh gosh, the weather's so great today. Or, oh, hey, you got this in the mail. Or, you know, we just talk, but you're really not communicating. Because when I think of communicating, especially in this relational space, communication is deeper. And not that we're always having deep conversations, but there's a bit of safety and vulnerability there where when we are really in need of communicating something, you know, it's not just surface level, but it goes to a deeper level, if that makes sense.
All right. Well,
that's my opinion.
Okay. Well, and that's what I was asking for. And so I don't know. I went back and forth about this because I think that whatever level that you're on, that with communicating, I think connection is very important. Because even when you're on a stage speaking, if you don't really connect, then to me, this is me. For me, communication doesn't take place without connection.
And so don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that that the connection is not needed. What I'm saying is that in order to build the connection, even when you're on the stage, and if I'm speaking to an audience, I have to, somewhere in my introduction, early on in my presentation, my speech, my message, my sermon, whatever it is, I have to connect with their audience.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I have to do that through my words.
Yes.
I can't just stand there and look at people and think I'm going to connect. They're like, what's wrong with that girl?
Yeah. So, yes. So communicating is the pathway to connecting. Right. And I think I want to say this. I think that ultimately, even with couples, I think that when they say we have a communication problem, I think what they really are getting at is did I say that right? We're not connecting.
Right.
Because like you said, a lot of times we're saying a lot. And we may even be conveying our feelings the way we feel. We may be conveying our emotions. But if we're not connecting, so we have to.
So if you're not receiving what I'm saying, if you're not getting it and understanding it, then there's a communication error.
Yes. And that's the thing I think about with most people when you ask them about communicating. It's all about the giving of information. But for me, I believe a good communicator is the one who can receive the information the best. Right. And so, and I guess I know you were a definitions person. You like the definition. So I did you a favor and I looked up communication, and it's two definitions that I think that kind of stuck out to me. Is number one is the imparting or exchange of information or news. And this is the one that I really like. It's the successful conveying or sharing of ideas and feelings. And I like it says the successful.
The successful.
Because I think a lot of times when we communicate, we're just, like you said, we're just saying things. But for me, that's not communication. That's just talking.
That's just talking.
Because communication implies the conveying, the successful conveying. Or even like, I see it as, we just had the Super Bowl, right? And it's like having a quarterback, the players you don't score unless the connection is made, unless the receiver catches the ball. And I think that's what happens a lot of times in relationships. And so let me just give you the definition for connection and we can talk a little bit more. But connection is a relationship in which a person, thing, or idea is linked or associated with something. So linked or I forgot the word you used earlier.
Connection?
I forgot, but so linked, so a successful exchange. So communication and connection. And I was thinking about, we had a conversation the other day and we were talking about something with the business. And I can't remember what it was, but we were talking and I was saying something and you was like, no, I mean, this, and this. And I was like, I understand that, but this, and this. And it dawned on me that we really were saying the same thing.
Right.
But it's just the way I was saying it, you are not receiving. And so what I'm learning to do is in communication is really the connection piece. And I think that part of the connection piece, especially when it comes to relationships, is really taking the time to take in the information. It's almost like being a sommelier, right? You take a sip.
I see you doing your hand like
this.
Yeah,
you take a sip. You swish the wine around and you take a sip, and it's like you're tasting it, you're smelling it, you're taking in all of the attributes, the flavors of the wine, and they're like, this is a very bold, sophisticated wine, and it was.
Why you do your eyes like that?
That's how they do. It's like it was I could tell it's a very old vintage. Is that the word they use?
Don't
Not
make
vintage.
me laugh.
Vintage means what is it? What's the word?
It means old. I mean,
no, it's what they call it. Anyway, and then they tell you they can tell you like it was
what region it was
which
from.
region it was, this type of dirt it was. So that's the way I'm trying to learn to take in information like that and to just really take it in and hold it and really understand what you're trying to say to me.
You know what that takes though? And why? Because you said earlier that you can be, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's okay.
You can be a good speaker.
Yes.
And not be you can be a good speaker, a good communicator in a public space, but not be a good communicator with your spouse or with your children, because that takes a lot of humility. It takes the lack of the need to be right, and so when we're talking, and that probably when we're talking about business stuff is probably when we have that little tension the most. It's kind of like, because I have my idea of how I want something to be or my thought of how it should go, and then you have yours, and then we're having to work that dynamic and communicate. I'm trying to communicate to you my point and vice versa. But at some point, somebody has to humble themselves to do exactly what you're talking about. Okay, let me stop trying to make my point and get him to see what I'm saying and just really listen and do what we always say to do, ask questions so that we can understand what it is that you're having to say. And that takes me to humble myself and just say, okay, squash what you're trying to say and what you want to do and just listen.
Yeah. Because it's whenever I'm on stage talking, I'm the one saying all of the words.
Right.
And I'm not required to really take in anyone else's. I mean, I'm reading body language. I'm reading the vibe and reading right, but it really doesn't require me. So it's a totally different skill set. And I want to say, it was one other thing I want to say, but I want to say this too. If you ever want to know if you really have a good relationship with your spouse and you guys really can work through things, start a business together.
Start a business or build a house.
I tell you what.
Yep.
It really teaches you how to be patient with each other. And let me just say this. If you are starting a business with your spouse, I highly recommend you listen to the Marriedpreneur podcast with OL and Sway Buckley. I was like, what are their last names? But OL and Sway Buckley, they are great. They're all about teaching couples how to be married and
run businesses together.
Hence, marriedpreneur.
Marriedpreneurs, yeah.
And it's everything from two people in business together to where one person is an entrepreneur and the other person is not. So it's
both running your own separate businesses.
It's a great. So it's all, and that's what happens. I think a lot of times in marriage is we want to get our words out. And I'm learning really how to take in other people's words. And I want to read this quote from one of your favorite authors. This is from Brene Brown.
Girl.
She says, I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. So that's what she says. So yeah.
When they can give and receive without judgment. That stood out to me today. That's good.
So I think that's part of what we're really going after when we talk about communication is ultimately we want connection.
Yeah.
Is we want to be able to really, and that to me, that's what connection is all about, is being able to be to, how do you say that, when they can give and receive without judgment.
Yeah.
And that's to me, that's true connection, you know? And so for me, I'm laughing at the way I wrote that. I know what I mean though. Spell check. I'm gonna spell correct. Anyway, but this is just my opinion. I always say this is that, you know, most relationships start with attraction. And attraction is not a bad thing.
Right.
You know, because I believe that attraction is the setup for a connection. It's the launching pad. And that's why I think that when
it brings the curiosity.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times what happens is why a lot of relationships don't last is because they never move past the attraction point.
Well,
because attraction is not long term. It can't be sustained long term. Because we have these things, our endorphins and all. What is it? Is it endorphins? Not melatonin. What's the other chemical? I should have researched all this before I said it, huh? But anyway, we get this chemical response.
Don't get me in trouble.
When you see a person, or when you kiss a person for the first time, it's all of these. Some people call them like fireworks are going off, and all these things are happening, and we get butterflies and
give me butterflies.
Yeah, all of that. But that's not. You can't live like that. And so, what you have to do is work at the connection part. So the attraction part is automatic, right? It's the connection part that we talk about all the time that you got to work at.
Right.
That marriage is not hard, but it's work. That work is the connection part. And that's what sustains a marriage. And so it's very important that you get this piece down. So what are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree to the attraction doesn't really take effort. You can look at a person and be attracted to them, or you could be getting to know someone and then suddenly they're attractive to you because there's a, something that a value there, something that becomes attractive to you about that person. And so there's not a lot of effort that goes into that, but it's the building of connection, which goes back to how are we communicating? What are we communicating about? What are the commonalities? That's how we build that connection. Right. And like you said, some people get stuck at being attracted. Oh, this person is nice looking. This person has a good job, or, they own their own home and they're single, like whatever things kind of attract you to a person. But if you don't really build connection, which is through the process of getting to know that individual, like really getting to know that, not knowing just the stuff you want to know, but getting to know that individual, then that's what deepens the connection. And if you don't get to that part, then you're not going to move very far. It's going to be a very surface relationship that is just, it's like an eggshell. It's just, it's fragile.
Yeah. And for me, in our relationship, I think that's what really, it's like, that's why I think that, and again, this is just me, but I think a lot of times that's why affairs happen, is because you're living off of attraction. And when you're with a person and the attraction wears off, now you have to find that. Well, I'm not gonna say that's the reason. That's one of the reasons. I'll say that. So you have to find that somewhere else. Whereas what I'm learning with us, the more we get connection, even though there may be attraction, and a lot of people attraction is attraction. Right. I mean, if you see someone that's a nice looking person, you may say, well, wow, they're an attractive person. But because I have a deeper connection, and I have something more that sustains me, I don't now have to pursue attraction because I have something better, something deeper, and it's connection. And connection, it's more, it's like the difference between eating junk food versus eating rice and beans, Right. The rice and beans, you eat a good, it's going to hold you as opposed to eating a bag of chips.
Right.
I mean, it tastes good.
Get a burger from McDonald's.
It tastes good and it's nice and it's, all that, but it doesn't sustain. It's not sustainable. Right. And so, and we as humans, as spiritual beings, we are built for connection. Right. So we're and I think that's why when you have connection with people, it's more fulfilling and it carries you through a lifetime. Yeah. Not just a moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about some of the things that I'm working on. So what hinders me from connecting? So these are some of the things I've identified for me that even with us in the past have maybe hindered me from connecting, or maybe, with kids, or maybe with others. And the first thing that I thought about was sometimes I can be too results oriented. It's like I have to. Great example is the other day when we were in Target, and I knew what I wanted, and I was going in there for that, and I had a goal in mind. I was in and out, and you made the comment. You were like, "Why are we walking so fast? Why are we?" She's like, "When I'm in the store, I like to walk around." And so what you were saying was, I want to be in this experience with you, and I want to have this experience with you. And I was like, "Yo, I don't come to the store for experience. I come to the store for
to get what I need.
This thing. I know I've already looked it up on the app. I know the aisle number that it's on, and it's like, for me, it's like I want to see how fast I can get in and out.
Are you really going through this in your mind?
Yes, I am. I am. I want to see how fast. And I got the app out already. I know where it's at. I got it. I got the app. I scan the app. Boom, I'm out. Boom. That's like
Target is an outing. Like, you cannot speed through Target this way.
We're talking about me right now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We're talking about me. And it also happened. It happened yesterday. I was with Bailey, and she wanted to get a Coke Icy. I don't know what you call it. Coke Ice Coke from McDonald's. So of course, we pulled up to McDonald's, and we in the drive-thru. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to sit in drive-thru for 20 minutes to wait, because the drive-thru was, So I was like, let's get down. So we got down, and that was even worse. And I'm like,
now you're inside with the people.
And I'm looking behind the counter, and I'm seeing the workers. They back there, one dude clowning around with the young lady, flirting with her. And I'm like, bruh, this ain't the place to flirt. I want my order, But Bailey goes, well, Dad, I like to just be in the moment and enjoy the moment.
That's my child.
And she was telling me she had just went on an audition, and she was telling me about the audition. And so her telling me that really helped me to just chill and really take in what she was saying and the experience that she had at the audition, which was doing what? Building connection with us. So I know that's something I need to work on. And like, everything doesn't have to have, like, even with the phone calls, like I call, and this may sound bad, but it's like, I'm going to call you when I need to talk to you.
No, I know that's what you do, because you don't call me.
I know. I know.
Everything's like, I can wait till I get home.
Yeah, but I'm working on that. So one of the things that I've been doing lately is just really trying to call people, just to, like, I know one especially is my mom, because lately, just the way our lives are going, we don't see her. We used to see her like
at least once or twice a week.
Yeah, but now it's like we haven't. So I've made it a point sometimes, like on my way home from work, I may just call her just to, hey, just checking on you. Hadn't seen you all week. What's going on in your life? So I've been trying to do that. So that's one. So for me, is not getting out of everything doesn't have to be for a purpose. Every meeting doesn't have to be for a purpose. Sometimes you want to just go get coffee just to get coffee, not talk about nothing.
Yep.
Right. So that's the first thing that I identified that I'm working on. Okay. Yeah, I said that. The other one is what I call introvertism, is that I'm so comfortable without connect. And I'm still digging into that. It's like, am I really comfortable being by myself, or I just don't want to do the work that it takes for a connection with other people? So I'm still kind of digging into that and just self-reflecting, figuring out what that is. But it's like, I'm very comfortable. I like just being, chill at home by myself. So those are two things for me that I've been working on as far as being a better connector. Because like we said earlier, I can say things, but I want them not, especially with you and the girls, I don't want just to say things. I want them to be meaningful, and I want to have meaningful conversation.
Sure.
With my family.
Yeah,
so
that's good. That's good. I think that's, man, you actually made me think of something, and it's been conscious with me for a while. But I just really I have to be, when I'm outside of this house or I'm not with you or the kids, I have to really learn to be where my feet are. Because I can, like, out in public spaces, going to church, I get easily, I guess, distracted. And I recognized this about myself a while ago. Sometimes and it's weird because of what I do for a living. Like, I listen to people talk all the time. I talk to people all the time in that work setting and doing counseling and therapy, but sometimes the finishing of a conversation, I don't always do a great job. Or just holding casual conversation with people, I don't always do a great job. I'm like, if we're not talking about something deep, and then it's kind of like, and so just like you, I guess, working on building connection and things like that with people and being present in those moments, especially with people that I don't know really well, or that, I feel a little awkward because it's just like, we don't have a deep connection, but maybe we're, wanting to build a connection or friendship or what have you, but just really in those moments being more present and not, running off before people can finish talking to me, because that has happened. And then I think about it later. I'm like, oh my God, did I do that?
Yeah, we all do it. We all do it. Because like I said, when I'm out in public, I'm like, I got a purpose. If I'm gonna be out here in these streets, I ain't out here to lollygag.
Right.
I'm out here to accomplish something.
Right.
Right. And so
yeah. And I don't want to. I always, because it's important to me, the way that people feel when they leave my presence. I want people to feel
that's so good,
like they were seen, heard, and valued. And so I have to do a better job that even outside of my workspace, that I'm doing that for people. I have to do a better job with you guys, with that.
That's all of us.
Yeah.
And one of the places that I used to love to connect, that I was working on, which I don't get to do, is cashiers. Because now everywhere's self-checkout. And again, people say, I hate self-checkout. Why I got to check myself out? Love self-checkout. Because now I don't have to wait on, if self-checkout is, the line is backed up, then I'm like, okay. And listen, let me just talk to the people out there for a second. If the registers are open and there are cashiers and you've got 57 items in your buggy, you don't need to go to self-checkout. You need to go on over there
to scan them
to the thing. Because boy, I tell you, people be in self-checkout and I'd be like, why are you trying to scan 120 items in self? To me, self-checkout is you got
a few
20 items.
That's
you boop, 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 you out of there. And also, a lot of stores now, even Walmart has scan as you go.
Right.
Do that. Pull that Walmart app out. Get the scanning out. You scan everything as you put it in your buggy. So when you get up to the register,
y'all solution focused like you.
When you get up to the register, all you gotta do is hit the thing one time. You scan the little QR code, and you got the app. The Walmart Pay. Boom, you out of there, right? So please don't do that. Don't go to the self checkout. But anyway, so cashiers.
Listen, you brought that up and it reminded me when I went to, I guess was that yesterday, day before yesterday, I went to Walmart, and I didn't have like a ton of groceries, but I had quite a few things.
Were you over there? In the self-checkout?
I am, but I'm fast because I used to work for a grocery store.
Okay.
And so I saw the girl when I put my bananas up there and I just typed in the code and she kind of looked like, okay. It's like, that was over 20 some years ago and I never forgot that code for bananas, but that's one of the things people always buy, Yeah. But I think I am a good self-checkout because the way I put my groceries in my buggy, the way I scan and bag my things. Okay. I remember all my Kroger training.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I used to love to just talk to cashiers because those are the people that I think a lot of times, if somebody was talking to them, they were complaining or they were really just rude to them. Right. So I used to enjoy saying, man, you're doing a good job. So I was going to say something else about that, but dog it, I forgot. I always do that. I need to write these things down.
I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, but so yeah, just being where you are, learning to be in the moment. And we were talking about cashiers. Oh, I had something else. That's okay. I guess I didn't need to say it. So yeah, so just because you consider yourself a great communicator at work or in a corporate setting,
right.
or preachers, pastors, evangelists, teachers. Teachers, pastors, evangelists, prophets, and apostles. If you're in the fivefold ministry, just because you can preach a good sermon don't automatically mean you're a great communicator.
That's so true.
So I just want to throw that out there. So I think we have to work even harder.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to people just taking our word.
That's so good. That's
right?
So good.
So we have to work even harder at really living in the moment when we're talking.
That's so true.
And not just, letting them talk until it's our turn to talk.
Right. And, I wonder, that could be true for so many. Like, I think about teachers. Like, students are sitting there taking in information from them all day long and, believing what they say. It's like you're the teacher and you're going to grade my test. So whatever you say has to be the right answer.
Yeah.
So I wonder, too, if, people who are in that kind of space, like, check your communication with your spouses and your children and your close friends. Like, are you as good of a listener as you are a speaker of giving information? How are you with taking in information and processing it, not for you to come back with how you are right, but just to give space to people? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's good, babe. That's a good point.
So that's all we got for you this week. We want to remind you that if you're listening to this, you can watch it on YouTube or on Facebook and we used to post on Instagram, but since Instagram, you can't do video long format anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to figure that out. But if you're watching it and you want to listen to it, in the car or while you're exercising, whatever, go and check us out on Apple Podcasts or Google Play or Anchor or Spotify. Pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find Marriage Matters. Thank you so much for all of your support.
Absolutely. And shout out to the Marriage Matters community. We got quite a few, and I haven't done an actual post yet, but quite a few new people that joined the Marriage Matters community private group. Thank you guys for joining. We have some things coming. I put a poll in there the other day about, reading together as a couple, and maybe that's something that we can do in our group. We can, put a book out and have couples read it with us, or, they read it and then we come into the group and discuss it. But yeah, shout out to all of our new members in the Marriage Matters community. Just stay plugged in, stay connected. Some good stuff coming.
All right. Well, that's all we got for you. Until next time, this is Glenn and Tynia Coleman reminding you that
your marriage matters.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.